Downtown St. Louis is buzzing once again as the Cardinals are back in town. And the Cardinals begin a 6-game homestand against Scott Rowland and the Cincinnati Reds tonight. The Redbirds in first place at 62-51. And before our first pitch, it's a look at the hurlers. We'll scout the American League Central Division and Scott Rowland back into Gateway City. Welcome to Cardinals Baseball. Rick Horton filling in for Al. I'm Dan McLaughlin. And our keys to the game, no doubt, the Cardinals looking for a good start from Kyle Loesch tonight.
It's a good pitching matchup we've got here tonight. Johnny Cueto's been better on the road. Kyle Loesch has been better here in St. Louis. Something's got to give. Cueto 2-0 against the Cardinals in 2009.
And you see that home record for Loesch. He's at 4-3 and trying to add to that here this evening. When we come back on Cardinals Baseball, well, we'll take a look at the American League Central. Who will emerge in 2009? We do that next on Fox Sports Midwest. American League Central, they lead it, but how about Chicago, Ricky, with Jake Peavy, or Minnesota with Carl Pavano? Could they emerge?
Well, I like the Tigers. All kinds of injuries in this division, but I really like the Chicago White Sox. Jake Peavy coming off the disabled list. He was a very good acquisition for Ozzie Guillen and the Sox.
Detroit leads it by 3 over Chicago. Minnesota, though, still in the hunt in the American League Central Division. The return of Scott Rowland. He's not in the lineup, but we'll take a look back at his Cardinal career when we return. Cincinnati Reds pulling off the trade to get Scott Rowland to Cincinnati. Jim Hayes takes a look at the Rowland era in St. Louis.
When third baseman Scott Rowland became a Cardinal on July 29, 2002, he began his remarkable 6-year stay in St. Louis. From 2002 to 2004, Rowland averaged 31 home runs and 113 RBIs a season and formed the famous MB3 trio along with Albert Pujols and Jim Edmonds. The five-time All-Star finished fourth in the MVP voting in 2004 and propelled the Cardinals to the 2004 World Series after hitting one of the biggest postseason home runs in franchise history.
Swing and get up, baby! Get up, get up, get up, get up! Home run! Rowland has just given the Cardinals a 4-2 lead.
As I'm running around the bases, I remember the feeling going around first base, and just, wow. You can't, I'm not even going to talk about it because I can't, convey it very well.
Rowland's heroics helped the Cardinals reach the 2004 World Series, but his work done in the field was equally as impressive. Rowland's 7 Gold Glove awards trail only Hall of Famers Brooks Robinson and Mike Schmidt for the most all-time among third basemen. The 6'4", 240-pounder moves extremely well for his size, and the combination of Rowland's athleticism and soft hands makes him not only one of the best Cardinal third basemen, but one of the best third basemen of all time.
He's number one as far as I'm concerned, and I just don't say that. With my own background, I went and asked some other people, especially Mike Schmidt over at Philadelphia, because he's seen him play all the years that he played in Philadelphia, more than I've seen him play. And I asked him about it, and he said he's definitely the best ever.
Yeah, that's enough of a compliment. You don't have to say he's better than anybody else. He's just, but I believe he's as good as anybody ever played.
Rowland's career suffered a major setback on May 10th, 2005.
Rowland bangs into Choi.
And Scott's the one that took the brunt of it.
A collision with Hee-Sop Choi sent Rowland to the disabled list, and he eventually underwent season-ending surgery on his left shoulder. When Rowland returned in 2006, his power numbers were down, but he still hit 22 home runs and drove in 95 for the postseason-bound Cardinals. But in the playoffs, Rowland struggled. He went 6 for 32 with no RBIs in the first 2 rounds, and Tony La Russa even benched his slugger in Game 2 of the NLCS. This spawned a feud between Rowland and the manager, but they put aside their differences, and the third baseman played a key role in the World Series win over Detroit. Rowland struggled mightily in 2007. He hit just 8 home runs before more surgery was needed on his shoulder in September. Rowland's time in St. Louis had run out, and in January 2008, he was traded to the Blue Jays in exchange for Troy Glaus. Today, Rowland is a Cincinnati Red, and instead of the Jasper, Indiana native taking a 2.5-hour trip west to St. Louis, he can now make the same trip northeast to Cincinnati.
All right, Jim, good job. And Scott Rowland is here, but not in the lineup tonight for Dusty Baker. It's a Central Division showdown. Game 1 of this 3-game series is coming up. last. After a 4-1 road trip, the Redbirds return to Busch Stadium tonight for the first of 6. Despite a 12.5 game deficit, the Reds remain motivated behind manager Dusty Baker. After Cincinnati, another All-Star returns to St. Louis in Adrian Gonzalez. Kyle Loesch will lead things off tonight. Cardinals and Reds, Game 1 coming up next. Fills you up. The difference is drinkability. By Steak and Shake, famous for steak burgers. By Auto Tire, for the lowest prices in town, we shop the competitors so you don't have to. By Chevy, see your Mid-America Chevy dealers or shop and compare at stlchevy.com. And by the State of Missouri Tobacco Quit Line. Call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. Right now it is gorgeous here in St. Louis as Scott Rowland has made his return to the Gateway City, but more than likely, we will not see him play as he is dealing with a concussion-like syndrome right now. He's been dealing with those headaches. So Tavares, Gonzalez, and Phillips here in the first. Joey Votto, very good hitter. Valentin, Gomes, Rosales, Hannigan, and Cueto. Kyle Loesch with our first pitch of the game presented by Domino's. And it tails in on the inside portion of the plate. And it's a ball to the speedster, Willie Tavares. The numbers on Kyle Loesch presented by Marshall Wireless, and you were hoping for a better record at 4-7, and you were hoping for a better start than this. Tavares around first, on his way to second, and in there with a stand-up double to start the game.
Well, Kyle Loesch has struggled, Dan, 4 out of his last 5 outings. And he really had a good start 2 outings ago against the Dodgers. He just wasn't able to repeat it in his last outing with the Mets, and not a good start here tonight. And really, location's been an issue with him. He has not really been able, in my mind, to pitch inside as well as he did last year. And we'll see if he improves on that tonight.
Why is that? Why do you go from year to year, and you got to figure that if you're going to have success, you have to pitch inside, and why has he not been able to do that this year?
Well, I don't know that he's not trying to. He's just not able to execute the pitch the way he did last year, and he's just been inconsistent with it. You make a mistake, and even though this Reds lineup is full of a lot of guys we're not that familiar with, Dan, they're big league hitters. They'll do something with it.
This is Alex Gonzalez, the shortstop. Willie Tavares is at second base following a leadoff double. Just underway to start this 6-game homestand. 3 with Cincinnati and then 3 with San Diego over the weekend. And we are sold out here tonight. It is a half-price night. The Cardinals sold those tickets out right away and then had to open up some more tickets for half price. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Bunted, and Loesch's only play is to go to first as he looked back to second. Sack 1-3 on the play. The defense for the Cardinals, Holiday, Rasmus, and Keel in the outfield. Khalil Green gets a start at third. DeRosa dealing with a back issue. Ryan Schumacher and Albert Pujols. Loesch and Yadi Molina, the battery tonight. And again, the numbers for Kyle Loesch.
Yeah, he really hasn't been walking a lot of guys. 27 walks is not really that bad. 87 innings of work, but the ERA in the mid-fours. Way too many hits. I don't think he's been the dominant guy we've seen last year. And he hasn't been able to get out of trouble as well either. And here's a situation he's going to have to pitch to keep the Reds from scoring. And this is where he has not been able to perform of late.
And that pitch is swung on and missed by Brandon Phillips. Kyle Loesch coming off his poorest start of the season last time out. That was against the Mets. 9-0 loss for the Cardinals. He only lasted 2 2/3. Gave up 7 hits, 5 runs, but he was pitching very emotionally because of a death in the family. So he had that on his mind, no question about it. 0-1 pitch to Phillips. On the outside corner, good pitch.
Well, that second pitch, a much better slider than the first one. The first one, a bit of a hanger, and that's where we're talking about execution. 2 sliders back to back. One of them hangs on the inside part of the plate. If Phillips would have done what he normally did with it, it'd be 2-0.
No balls and 2 strikes. Schumacher charging along with Pujols on the right side of the infield. Just missed. Good pitch. Brendan Ryan is at shortstop, and how about the way he has played defensively?
Nobody's better right now, I don't think. He's not just making easy plays, he's making some crazy plays.
Yeah,
he made a bare hand play in Pittsburgh that may be one of the best plays I've seen an infielder make all year.
1-2, misses inside, 2-2. Disappointed that Scott Rowland can't play tonight. I was looking forward to watching him play. I always loved him when he was here in St. Louis, and I was looking forward to see what kind of reception he would get. I figured it would be positive.
I would think it'd be very positive. Fans love what he was able to do. Played the game hard, still does.
2-2.
You're disappointed, Dan, but so are the Reds. I mean, they made a big deal to get Scott Rowland, and this team has really struggled last month or so of the season, and they really were relying on him to kind of jumpstart this club. And being injured, getting hit in the head by a pitch by another former Cardinal, Jason Marquis, is what slowed him down. And it's really, really tough when you've got all the injuries they've had to add another one like Scott Rowland.
Scott Rowland said he grew up watching the Cardinals and also the Cincinnati Reds. So those 2 teams, because he was in Indiana, those are the 2 teams that were closest for him. And this is the injury. Marquis hitting Scott Rowland.
At first they weren't sure whether he had a concussion. They said that he didn't, but that ball just struck him very hard in the back of the helmet, and he's had some recurring headaches and may go on the disabled list.
3-2 is hit in the air, plenty deep, as Willie Taveras will tag up. The catch is made, and the throw in from Rasmus to the plate, not in time. 1-0 Cincinnati. Sac fly and the RBI number 72 for Brandon Phillips. Not bad production, Ricky, from your second baseman.
Yeah, and that's what you're supposed to do when you got a runner on third base. Hit a ball in the outfield somewhere, and that's situational hitting. Brandon Phillips, you know, when he first came up, he was not, Dan, one of my favorite players.
He would drive you crazy.
He plays with a lot of flair, but you know, he's kind of grown on me, and I've seen some maturity in Phillips, and of course I'd like to have him on my team too.
I was about to say, you know, 25 home runs and 100 RBIs would grow on me too.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's Joey Votto. Pops one foul. Last time we saw the Reds, they were in contention. We were in Cincinnati, and we left town, and the Reds were only 3 games out at that point, and Joey Votto was hitting about 360 at that time too.
The team has gone 8-23 since that day. Chris Carpenter beat the Reds 10-1 in Cincinnati on the 5th of July.
Saw that shot there of Dusty Baker. Ownership has come out and said that Dusty's job is safe for this year, and he will be back in 2010 with the Reds. That'll be the final year of his contract.
Don't you normally duck when somebody says that?
Well, for
in
Dusty,
this case, I don't think so.
You know, and Walt Jocketty is in town and trying to get this team going in the right direction. And who would have thought that Walt Jocketty and Dusty Baker would be together, the same franchise, after all those years with St. Louis and Chicago and San Francisco. 1-2 pitch.
They're both pros.
2-2 pitch to Votto. Got him. A strikeout, first of the evening for Kyle Loesch. The hero from last night, Skip Schumacher, leads it off when we come back. Bottom of the first rolls in here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. We're sold out again tonight. Cardinals and the Reds, first of this 3-game series. Skip Schumacher leads it off, followed by Colby Rasmus and Albert Pujols. Then Matt Holliday, Rick Ankiel, Khalil Green, Molina, Ryan, and Loesch. And the Cardinals face a good one. The right-hander, Johnny Cueto, our Marshall Wireless starter.
Cardinals beat him twice last year. He's beat the Cardinals twice this year. Got a very good changeup. Slider's okay, but he's got the good hard fastball, low to mid-90s, and that's really his best pitch. And good young pitcher along with Volquez, who of course is hurt now. The Reds won't have him till next season, but he is a very good pitcher.
That'll be late next season too, if at all, as he has undergone Tommy John surgery. A lot of times now pitchers can come back in about a year, so they project him, hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, mid-August, early September next year.
You know, the only guy to come back before 1 year time is Ken Daly, former Cardinal.
Right?
He came back in about 9 months. He actually, when he was on the plane coming back from his surgery, cut off his cast with a steak knife on the plane and started doing exercises. And Dr. Jobe actually uses him in a lot of his discussions. Not that that's a good idea to do, and I don't know that they actually have steak knives on airplanes anymore, but Ken Daly is a kind of a medical miracle.
Schumacher pops one foul. And the exercises, I would assume, a lot of squeezing tennis balls.
He was concerned about atrophy, so he was actually squeezing something on the plane and actually working his wrist and his hand and trying to get some mobility. And I think the thought is that atrophy is part of what keeps you from coming back too soon. I mean, pitchers throw 100+ pitches.
Schumacher slaps it the other way, and that is foul. Had to think about it, didn't he?
He did.
Jose Oquendo over there to talk. That's Angel Campos, the third base umpire, and that looked to be from up here on the line. Let's take a look.
Very close.
Ooh. What do you think? I'm saying fair ball.
That's my vote.
We're not biased or anything, though, are we?
You know, Skip Schumacher has to be careful. He's become such a good pinch hitter off the bench. You don't want to be too good at that.
The home run yesterday in dramatic fashion for the Cardinals. He said that was the first time he had ever done that, a pinch hit home run at any level that he's played baseball. And he runs the count full like a good leadoff man should. 3-2. Schumacher, the start at second base tonight. And he pulls that one. Fair. Off off the sidewall, and Skip on his way to second base. Leadoff double for the Cardinal leadoff man.
Well, you try the left field line and it doesn't work, so you try the right field line.
So a double for Schumacher, and let's take a look at the defense presented by Auto Tire. Combs, Taveras, Valentin, the right fielder. Rosales, Gonzalez, Phillips, and Votto along the infield. And the battery tonight, Johnny Cueto and Ryan Hannigan. Here's Colby Rasmus hitting .248, 11 home runs, 37 driven in. And Colby is hitting in front of Albert Pujols, and you would love to see either bunt here or just drive him in. Schumacher will tag up. Throw from center field. Not in time. Moves the runner up to third. So Colby does his job, and here comes Albert. Albert Pujols in Pittsburgh was hit yesterday. Some thought unintentional. My thought was completely intentional. Well, after the home run,
I think I went the other direction. I think he was trying to throw it in, and of course I can't really get into the motives of Matt Capps, but he hit Pujols right in the side, and he hit him hard too, and the Cardinals weren't happy about it. Tony La Russa wasn't happy about it. But what a season Albert's had, going over 100 RBIs.
One out and a runner at third. Outfield is deep for Albert. And the question then becomes retaliation, because the Cardinals will face the Pirates, and as you well know, you played this game a long time. You carry that over either to a series or even sometimes to the next season.
Sometimes spring training. You remember. You just don't forget.
This is their big guy. No question about that, Albert Pujols. 2 balls and no strikes. Matt Holliday is on deck.
Part of it is protecting your teammate. Albert has been a great teammate to the 24 other guys, and if teams are just going to take advantage of him by hitting him and trying to intimidate him, I mean, it's not that you're trying to be macho, you're just trying to keep him from getting hurt.
1 out and a runner at third. Pujols takes a ball, 3-0. Again, this is with this lineup. It is unforgiving, and it seems like this lineup, especially when DeRosa's in there, can score at any time in any inning. Makes them dangerous. 3-0 the count with 1 out and a runner at third. Turn him loose. Outside, he wanted no part of Albert.
I can't blame him for that, but Matt Holliday hitting behind Albert Pujols, hitting .466 as a Cardinal. Hasn't been as hot over the last week or so, but Cardinal fans realize what kind of energy he's brought to this lineup, to this city. And I think what you're saying, Dan, about this entire lineup, you have the ability to come back late in games. A 2 to 3 run deficit early doesn't mean a whole lot.
And I believe the Cardinals have had either 5 or 6 comeback wins with the trades. Once those trades are made, the Cardinals have shown the ability to come back, and they did that over the weekend in Pittsburgh. Runners at first and third with 1 out. Inside to Matt Holliday. Ricky and Keel is on deck. It's Billy Hatcher. You saw the coach there for the Cincinnati Reds. He's on the top step of their dugout. There goes Albert. On a throw down to second, and he is safe. Slid to the outside portion of the bag, and Phillips was up a couple of steps, anticipating the runner from third maybe going home, and Pujols swipes the bag.
And there's that split second where the catcher, Hannigan's not sure he should throw it either, so you've got people worried about the runner at third, and that allows Albert to slide to the back of the base. Perfect slide away from the tag, and he's safe.
You see the umpire there is in perfect position to make that call.
Stolen base number 11 for Albert.
Now first base is open. The count is 1 ball and 1 strike on Matt Holliday. So that eliminates your double play potential,
which is why you run.
And that's a strike.
The risk you take is if you're thrown out Now you've lost the chance to drive in somebody from third base with less than 2 outs, so it is a risk, but you want to stay out of the double play if possible. And Albert, he's got a good jump. He's really good at reading the pitcher, and that's what he did there.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Pujols at second, Schumacher over third, and the ball scoots away, but Skip stays put at third. Keep an eye on the Cubs. They'll be in Colorado tonight before they head back home to Wrigley Field, and this schedule allows the Cardinals to maybe get a little separation from themselves and the Cubs because of who the Cardinals are playing. Sub 500 teams from here on out, basically in the month of August, outside of the Dodgers next week, and the Cubs, of course, on the road a bunch.
Center fielder playing Holiday into right center. He's expecting him to hit the ball the other way, which may be an indication of how Cueto's going to pitch Holiday, but that's a pretty big gap in left center.
2-2. Holiday with a high fly ball. Johnny Gomes is out there. Makes the catch, tagging up. Skip Schumacher to the plate, and he is safe. You watch Gomes and how he caught and then tried to make the transition from the glove to make the throw to the plate, and that's not how you teach it.
We've got a game of sacrifice flies through 1 inning here, and this was not very good outfield defense by Gomes. Schumacher goes back to tag up. He knows it's going to be a close play. Gomes catches this ball flat-footed, almost kind of lazily, I would say. He has a good, strong throw to home right on the money, but if he would have stood behind the ball, charged it, caught the ball about head high, and in one motion threw the ball home, Schumacher might have been out.
And here is Ricky Ankiel, and he pops one foul for strike 1. 2 outs and a runner at second base. We are tied up at 1-1. You mentioned the real key point there, though. Flat-footed. Wasn't coming in with any momentum behind that throw.
Colby actually did it right in the first inning. He had very good form on a ball that was hit much deeper by Brandon Phillips. He didn't have a chance to throw him out, but his form was better.
You agree, though, about the schedule, the fact that the Cardinals can really get some separation here?
23 out of 26 games in the month of August against sub 500 teams, except for the Dodgers, as you mentioned. And the Dodgers aren't playing as well of late. So you can get some separation, and you better do it now. September is going to be a tougher schedule.
And the Cardinals have some off days as well, as Ankiel pulls it foul. That was right in his wheelhouse. In and low, and he could turn on that pitch. It's Johnny Cueto, 3 for 7 with a home run. You always look at the numbers when you think about why a particular player plays in the lineup for Tony La Russa, when they could be battling, say, a Ryan Ludwig or a Colby Rasmus for playing time. Here's the 0-2. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Albert Pujols is the runner at second base. Inside to Ricky Ankiel with Khalil Green on deck.
Always thought you had to be careful how much you count those at-bats against a particular pitcher. It could be in a different year. Could be when the guy was hot. You know, I almost think unless it's 15 at-bats, it doesn't really mean a lot to me. It really does. Now, I know Tony would say differently. The guy's 3 for 3 against a guy. I mean, even if he hung 3 pitches on a bad day.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just think 15 at-bats is where it starts becoming a reasonable number to look at.
And a swing and a miss as Ricky Ankiel is down on strikes. First strikeout for Cueto. After 1, tied up 1-1.
to move forward on the sacrifice fly in the top of the first inning, moving his body towards home. Good strong throw, still not in time. 1-0 Reds. Johnny Gomes, however, catches it flat-footed, and he had a better chance of getting out Schumacher, but that one step cost him.
And we're tied up at 1-1. Here's Ballantine and Gomes and Rosales for the Cincinnati Reds, and that pitch is taken for a ball. Ballantine, 1 home run, 5 RBIs, hitting .400. Brief time so far, and a swing and a miss. 1 ball, 1 strike. Have you seen anything with delivery and the arm angle and the action of a Kyle Loesch that would tell you that he's not having success when he is right? What do you pick up when he's right?
Not really. I don't see anything in his motion or in his stuff. His velocity seems there.
Right field and dropped. Tough chance for Rick Ankiel and a single for Ballantine. Almost came up with it.
That's a tough play to make. He's using both hands, trying to catch it on the run. The ball was hit hard as well. I think Ankiel would probably like another shot at that.
And it brings in Gomes, who's hitting .261, 11 home runs, 27 RBIs. You think about Ankiel using 2 hands. It's a rarity these days, and he does it almost every time that he's out there. You go back to the great catch that he made in center field off the wall. Remember, he had 2 hands on it there, which allowed him to stay with the play and make the catch. Loesch would love a double play here. Nobody out, top of the second. First pitch is strike. You're traveling and can't catch the Cardinals TV broadcast. You can catch it on your computer at MLB.TV. Find out more at STLCardinals.com. If you're just joining us, Scott Rowland not in the lineup and more than likely will not play in this series. And we saw the shot of Walt Jocketty. Some fans in Cincinnati questioned the move. They gave up Edwin Encarnacion and also a young pitcher, and it happened right at the end of the deadline. And it was a young pitcher that was at A ball, had jumped to AAA for the Reds, and now he is in Toronto's organization. But you have some young guys with the Reds, and you're trying to teach them how to play the game the right way. May not find a better one than Scott Rowland.
Good place to start, isn't it? The way he runs balls out, and Walt Jocketty cares about playing the game the right way, and Cardinal fans certainly owe a lot to Walt Jocketty for his years here. Did a great job.
1 ball and 2 strikes and nobody out. And that pitch misses inside. 2-2. Two and two the count. And that's popped foul. You know, we had fans when we got back to St. Louis asking us about the fan that was injured in Pittsburgh. And you may recall a fan that fell over the side wall and injured his head and his neck. Well, we can report to you that he is okay. He's a Cardinal fan. His son had turned 21 that day and has Down syndrome. And Albert Pujols, Ricky, was even prior to that injury to the fan, was going to go over with a baseball for the young man's birthday.
Unbelievable story, and Albert really did a great job of caring for that man. He New Yorker and a Cardinal fan, as you mentioned, and Albert stayed with him for about 10 minutes. Brad Henderson with the Pirates said he did as good a job as you could do in that kind of situation, caring for somebody.
And explained to the fans exactly what he did, because the trainers actually got out of the way.
He was holding his head and he was talking to the man, as was Perry Hill, the first base coach of the Pirates, and Brad and his assistant Mike Sandoval got over there along with the Cardinal trainers, and they said, you know, are you doing okay with this? And he says, yeah, I got it. And they just let him do it because they'd already been talking him through the injury, and they just let him go.
That night, Tim McClellan was the first base umpire, and he had mentioned to Albert prior to the injury, there's a fan over there. They're big fans of yours, and one of the fans has Down syndrome, and you're his favorite player. And Albert, even prior to the injury, was going to go over with a baseball.
Already planning on doing that. And then after it happened, Albert said, evidently the man said to him, I was hoping to meet you, but I didn't really want to meet you this way.
The good news that the fan is okay.
And he was discharged from the hospital on Sunday.
On the outside corner, strikeout. Second strikeout tonight for Kyle Loesch. Good pitch here.
Well, we talked about location, and there's a very good location right on the outside corner. Gomes doesn't like it, but nothing he can do with that pitch.
Here's Rosales, their third baseman. One out and a runner at first in a 1-1 ball game here in the second inning. Sold out here at Busch Stadium. After the holiday trade, the Cardinals sold out the previous homestand and were sold out tonight, and there are good seats for Friday night and Sunday. The Cardinals made these trades, and there was a nice article done by Derek Gould in the Post-Dispatch talking about where the attendance will be this year. And the attendance will be well over 3 million and well beyond the expectations of what the Cardinals thought with a poor economy, and weren't sure about how good this team was going to be. And John Mozeliak and the Cardinals have taken the money from tickets and reinvested it into their lineup and into their roster.
I think the DeRosa trade excited Cardinals and the Cardinal fans, and I think the holiday trade thrilled them.
Yeah.
And made them think that we've got a chance.
Now the question becomes, can you re-sign him? That is the million-dollar question. Mark DeRosa agrees.
Well, it is a million-dollar question. It's a lot more than a million-dollar question.
Now, we do know that Julio Lugo is back with the Cardinals next year. He is under contract, and Boston is picking up that entire deal. Good pitch in on the hands. Rosales strikes out. That's 3 this evening for Kyle Loesch. Well, beginning with tonight's game, how about this promotion? The Cardinals win during this homestand against the Reds and Padres. For each win, you can take $6 off Loesch box seats for the Astros series August 25th, 26th, and 27th. This could lead to a discount as high as $36. That means free tickets. So stay tuned and save. For every win the Cardinals get, you take $6 off. For more information, find out more at stlcardinals.com. 3 strikeouts for Loesch, and that pitch is a strike. Ryan Hannigan, their catcher. 2 outs and a runner at first. Taking a little bit low.
One thing that I have seen a little bit different with Kyle Loesch is I'm not sure he's got the same kind of life on his pitches, Dan. That last little hop right before it gets to the plate, whether it's going down, in, away, he seems a little flatter.
1-1 pitch. And a ground ball hit to short. Brendan Ryan takes it and fires it over to Albert. Khalil Green leads it off when we come back. The Cardinals team record for triples by a rookie. Aflac trivia question tonight.
Aflac!
And the answer, Tommy Long at 25 in 1915. I was thinking back maybe to some of those teams you played for in the 80s in that fast track at Old Busch Stadium, and you had
Vince Coleman would have been a good answer.
Yeah.
Tommy Long was not on my list.
Mine neither. Here's Khalil Green. He had a big base hit off the bench against Pittsburgh this weekend and gets a start tonight. First pitch to him, taking a little bit low. Let's bring in Jim Hayes to the conversation. And Jim, you reported this on the pregame show. There is some news concerning Todd Wellemeyer and his start tomorrow night.
Yeah, he was supposed to be making his return to the rotation tomorrow night. We know that that won't be happening. Mitchell Boggs was in the Cardinal clubhouse before the game. We understand he'll be activated tomorrow and get the start for Wellemeyer. Wellemeyer was throwing on the side, basically playing a catch on Sunday, and he felt pain in his throwing elbow. It concerned him. He was looked at by the team doctors today. No word on whether or not Wellemeyer will be required to go on the DL for this, but tomorrow night's start is out.
And this was something that he has dealt with before, too. I remember a couple years ago he had an issue with the elbow.
Same thing as last year, he said, but he hasn't had any pain at all this year. And he said it kind of came out of nowhere, took him by surprise. He had a side session before in preparation for the upcoming start, and said he felt great and was just basically playing catch and feeling good, and suddenly hit pain in the elbow.
And what's interesting, Ricky, is that you go back to the start for Boggs, his most recent start, which wasn't all that great down in the minor leagues, but he gets a fresh start tomorrow for Todd Wellemeyer.
Well, he hasn't lost a game, or the Cardinals haven't lost a game that Boggs has started in the big league, so he's been really a good find, and he's got good stuff, high potential. But Todd Wellemeyer, as bad a year as he's had, and he has had a bad year. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat that. But the Cardinals have won 10 out of his 20 starts.
That is surprising.
I'm not even sure how that's true, but it is true.
And you look at all the hits he's given up. He's given up a bunch of home runs. Opponent's average is high, but yet the Cardinals, stats don't lie, they've won half his starts.
Well, you just hope there's nothing serious with the elbow situation, and he gets a chance to come back and pitch like he did last year.
And it brings in Yadier Molina, the Cardinal catcher, hitting .285 with 5 home runs, and he's driven in 37. And that pitch is taken high.
Sometimes it's a free fall for pitchers too, Dan. You have a bad outing, then you don't feel good, then you have another bad outing, which makes you feel worse. Then your arm slot gets worse. Then it starts to hurt more, and you don't really know what comes first. Is it the mental, the physical, the pain? Kind of all three, just a bad cycle. And that's what's happened with Todd Wellemeyer.
1 on, nobody on, and a 1-1 pitch. Pulled foul. So Mitchell Boggs looks to get the start tomorrow. And then when we play on Wednesday, Chris Carpenter against Homer Bailey. Carpenter 11-3, 2.26 ERA. And we always talk about the additions with this lineup. Bottom line is Cardinals need to have a healthy Chris Carpenter from here on out. He makes such a difference with this team.
And a healthy Adam Wainwright. 13 wins, leading the National League. He's tied with Johan Santana, and you've got to start thinking about Wainwright as a potential Cy Young candidate.
I think Carpenter's in that mix too.
I agree.
We've got 2 months to go, so you've got a while. And a lot of people, I think the national media looks at Tim Lincecum, and he's a great choice, obviously, with what he's done, but don't overlook these two and what they've done.
And don't you like being on a team that has 3 10-game winners? Joel Pinheiro won his 10th this weekend, so it isn't just those two guys. Pinheiro's been outstanding.
Molina jammed a bit, hits it into shallow left field. Combs over to make the catch. Reality of the situation is this, too. Once you get into postseason play, you need 3 starters.
That's it. That's it. Then you take your 4th and 5th starter, put them in the bullpen, and they're your long guys. And what you really need is the 7th, 8th, 9th inning guys, sharp and hot all at the same time. That's what wins the World Series. That's what keeps you alive in the playoffs, and that'll be the question mark for the Cardinals. Can their bullpen get hot in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning? I think what Josh Kinney did for the 2006 Cardinals, he was maybe the hottest pitcher in baseball. And Wouldn't it be great if he could figure it out and come back here in September and do that again?
Matt Holliday looking on with Chris Carpenter there. No balls and 1 strike here on Brendan Ryan. And Brendan swings and misses. We talked about his defense. When we visit with the opposing broadcasters, they are just shocked at the defense that Ryan has been playing. They've always looked at him as being a solid defender, but then they watch him 3 or 4 games and they say, whoa, this guy is head and shoulders right now above some of the shortstops in the major leagues. He has made some dazzling plays. That's Chris Welsh on the left and George Grant on the right. 1 ball and 2 strikes as those two work for the Cincinnati Reds. And a strikeout of Brendan Ryan as he chased a ball and slams down his bat. And Cueto picks up his 2nd strikeout. It's 1-1. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Kia Motors. To learn more, visit kia.com. By the Casino Queen Hotel and Casino, home of the loosest slots. And by the new Third Pound Angus Burgers, and they are here. Try one for yourself today, only at McDonald's. Gorgeous night right now here in St. Louis. We understand there might be rain on its way, but maybe not till around 9 or 10 o'clock. 1-1 here in the 3rd, and that pitch is taken in the dirt by Johnny Cueto, the pitcher. We'll see the top of their lineup with Willie Taveras and Alex Gonzalez. Loesch has struck out 3 so far, and that pitch right down the middle. And that's a strike. One-two pitch to Cueto. Foul tip.
He's got one of those pitcher swings, doesn't he?
Describe a pitcher swing.
Well, you take your front foot, you point it towards the third base coach, and your head goes in that direction. Your bat goes towards the first base coach. You close your eyes and you hope you hit it.
And a 1-2 to Cueto. That's pretty much it. As Albert lets it go to Schumacher, and then Loesch is covering over at first. Spend the night under the lights of Busch Stadium. The Cardinals campout returns Friday, September 25th, courtesy of Bass Pro Shops and Tracker Boats. The number to call is 345-9000 or visit stocardinals.com/campout. It's always a very, very popular event. Albert, a smart play there. We know he loves to range to his right, and maybe at times overly aggressive, but you'd rather have him be that way than the other. And you realize that Cueto was basically not running down the line, so he just let it go, and it became an easy play for Skip.
He's not even back to the dugout yet. Not only is he not running down the line, you wonder if he's hurt or if he's just conserving energy.
I think he's hurt because Dusty Baker, watching right now, just grabbed him, and a trainer is over there as well.
You wonder about groin. You also wonder about, he's saying he was in the box, so he won't be called out. There's Cueto. You wonder about the possibilities there. It's kind of a wild swing. He got jammed, and maybe in his first step out of the box he did something. As he twisted there, clearly not comfortable. And you wonder whether it's maybe it's a quadricep. And grabbing his left leg. Boy, that would be a blow to this team, wouldn't it?
Sure would.
All the players they have on their disabled list: Jay Bruce, Chris Dickerson, Volquez, Lincoln, Hernandez, Micah Owings.
By the way, you know who that was? And now he is headed to the mound. Familiar face for Cardinal fans. That's right, the one and only Kip Wells. Kip Wells in their bullpen. There's a fly ball out to left center, and the catch made by Colby Rasmus. We saw Kip with Washington earlier this year.
And I have a feeling we're going to see him sooner than later. I can't imagine with a pitcher having that kind of an issue where he can't run down to first base, and he's not going to feel that on his landing leg if it's his left leg, or even if it's right leg and you got to push off. I just think for a pitcher, your legs are so important, and if there's an issue with Cueto, I think we're going to see Kip Wells in the third.
Alex Gonzalez sacrificed back in the first. Their second place hitter. That really tells you something when somebody is sacrificing and the kind of strategy they're using to do that in the first inning.
Shows they're not getting a lot of runs, and they're going to do anything they can to get one across early.
This is pulled and a foul ball.
You'll also do that if you've got a pitcher that you think has the capability of shutting out the other team, because you were going to say if I can get that one run early, that's all we need. I think Tony La Russa will do that more in games that Carpenter's pitching. Try to get that one run, sneak it across early, and say, hey, that's all we need. We've got the best pitcher in the game.
1-1 pitch taken in the dirt. Watching Cueto's reaction there, and we just had a shot. Looks like they may have told him that his night is through, because he is unhappy. That's going to be it looks like, for Cueto.
What's Dusty thinking now?
3 balls and 1 strike with 2 outs and nobody on for the Reds here in the top of the third. Cardinals will have Loesch and then Schumacher and Rasmus coming up if anybody can reach Albert Pujols. That's pulled left side and past Khalil Green. He was really playing close to the line. And Khalil will tell you that he enjoyed his time over at third base. That's what he primarily played in college.
Well, it's a reaction position for Khalil Green, but he was playing right on the line, expecting Gonzalez to pull the ball. He's only about 2 steps off the line, and there's the reaction to the left and the dive, and he just sneaks under the glove.
Exmo Cam presented by Hot Shot Sports Bar and Grill. Got a great location just 1 block south of the ballpark on Broadway. And here is Phillips. Phillips with an RBI, his 72nd back in the first. And that misses low and away, so out to visit Molina.
Well, there's your pitching coach on the field. Yadier Molina saw something in that pitch, maybe lack of commitment to the pitch, maybe it was mislocation by a foot. Dave Duncan shaking his head as he talks it over with Tony La Russa, but Yadier Molina has to occasionally be the guy that does that. And there's something that's fully not fully right with Kyle Loesch right now.
And he got off to a good start this year too, until he was hit by that pitch. 1-0. And a ground ball hit to short. Brendan Ryan underhands to Skip. Midway through 3. And a 1-1 game here at Busch Stadium. For baseball this week, Fox brings you the National Game of the Week. Ryan Howard and the National League East leading Phillies head to Atlanta to take on Chipper Jones and the Braves. Fox Saturday Baseball this week at 3 Central on Fox.
A lot of fun races in baseball, Dan. We talked about in the pregame the race in the American League Central. But the National League West is tightening up a bit. The Dodgers haven't played well of late, and the Rockies and the Giants are coming back. And here's our Chevy call to the bullpen, and it is Kip Wells, former Cardinal, former Pirate, former National, former some other teams as well, White Sox. And the Cardinal fans remember him as a guy that had very good stuff but could never quite put it together. And there's his numbers on the season.
So his 24th appearance, ERA close to 7. Was frustrating to say the least to watch him pitch when he was here in St. Louis.
What was frustrating is he'd be so good for 2 or 3 innings and then he'd be so bad for the next 2.
So Kip Wells into the ball game for Cueto. Cueto goes 2 innings tonight, walks 1, strikes out 2, and gives up a run. And the thing is, you would talk to scouts, you talk to Dave Duncan, they loved his stuff, but yet he would pick. You know, he wasn't aggressive in the zone. Can't win like that, can you?
No, it's also tough to win when your catcher has to introduce himself to you on the mound because you don't know him. And now, what do you throw again? I've seen you on other teams, but I'm not sure what you throw. That's a long conversation right there, isn't it?
So Tony La Russa had an explanation from the home plate umpire Wally Bell as they let Wells have a few more warm-up tosses than usual. When Wells was a Cardinal, the Reds absolutely destroyed him. 12 earned runs, 10 walks, and 11 1/3 that season with St. Louis. So here is Kyle Loesch, the former Red. And the first pitch is a strike. Skip Schumacher on deck, and then Colby Rasmus. 1-1 game here at Busch Stadium. Cardinals half of the 3rd. Kyle is hitting .200 with no home runs and 1 RBI. He needs a positive start tonight, doesn't he? He just needs something good to happen.
Well, he's got it in front of him. He's playing a team that's down right now. All he's got to do is stay in this, stay competitive, try to get through 7 innings.
1-2.
If he can go 7 innings and give up a couple of runs, he wins this game.
You mentioned these races in baseball, and one may have been put to rest with 4 games in the Bronx. How about the Yankees as they swept Boston, and now Boston is 6.5 games out, and they are tied in the wild card over in the American League. And Kyle shoots one foul. The Yankees, all the money that they spent in the offseason, all of it seems to be, at least early in these contracts, good investments.
It's one of the things that baseball owners have found out. It's not how much money you spend, it's spending it wisely on the right guy, and that's tricky business. You don't always know when a guy's had a career year and that's all he's going to do, or whether he's going to just continue to play at that level.
Broken bat, slowly hit to short, and with it Gonzalez to retire the Cardinals pitcher. 6 is a serious number. When the Cardinals score 6, you get a 20-ounce coffee, fountain, or frozen drink for just $1 the next day at On the Run at Mobile. Win or lose, when the Cardinals score 6, you score 25-cent drinks at On the Run. Schumacher doubled and scored his first time up. We don't talk about Skip's defense at second base all that much in the transition. Radical change from outfield to second base.
It's a good sign we don't talk about it a lot. That means he's been very steady. If not spectacular, he's been steady.
I mean, anything that's hit to him, you feel that he's going to make the play.
Made 7 errors as a second baseman. That's not a particularly high number. It's not a low number. Kind of average. But he's gotten much better at turning the double play. That's really the toughest thing, I think, for a second baseman to learn, and he's done a nice job with that. Always had a strong arm.
1-0 pitch. Strike on the inside corner. 1 ball, 1 strike. Schumacher was thrilled to find out that Matt Holliday had been traded to St. Louis, as those two work out in the offseason together with a guy named Mark McGuire.
Heard of him.
He's pretty good. Skip pops it foul and out of play. 1-2.
Mr. McGuire is not a guy we talk about a lot either, but I will tell you, a lot of thrills here at the ballpark watching him play over the years.
Well, we were talking too about the fan base and what they've done this year. It really got going for the Cardinals when they acquired McGuire, and the Cardinals then made the trades to get Fernando Vina, Kyle, and Veers. They won in those years, 2000, 01, 02. Mathematically still alive. Final weekend of the season in 2003. 04, they go to the World Series. 05 was another great team. 06, they win it all. And 07 and 08, competitive. But now here in 09, a chance to go back to postseason play with the team that they've got. 1-2 pitch. 2-2.
Talk about the Cardinals being able to acquire Matt Holliday. I remember the offseason talk was to get rid of Holliday, or get Holliday for Ryan Ludwig. And now the Cardinals have both of them.
At the time, I'd never even liked that. And a swing and a miss by Skip.
But that was certainly the talk of the offseason of the baseball winter meetings, is potential trade. Ludwig for Holliday. And again, Cardinals now have a lot of pop in their lineup. Ludwig has more RBIs on the season than Holliday does.
So 2 outs, and it brings in Colby Rasmus. And Colby hits it out to right center field. Cardinals go in order, 1, 2, 3. And they leave Pujols on deck. Joey Votto leads it off when we come back. It's time to bring you up to speed with the AT&T Rapid Rewind. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. And we welcome you back as we're right back to action and a base hit up the middle for Joey Votto. Rick Horton is filling in for Al tonight. I'm Dan McLaughlin. And it's a leadoff single for Joey Votto.
And it's the third time the Reds have done that in 4 innings. There's a pitch right down the middle, and he hits it right up the middle. Diving Brendan Ryan.
Almost got to that. Gladys Litzy is celebrating her 99th birthday and watching Cardinals baseball tonight. Happy birthday to Gladys. Pitch at the knees on the outside corner.
You talk about Brendan Ryan diving for that ball. You talk a lot about hitters being hot, but fielders can be hot too, where you really just expect the ball to be hit to you. You can't wait to make the great play, and you're just running around the field in total reckless abandon, and I think that's what Ryan is right now.
He's got the soft hands.
Confident. He's very confident.
He was noted coming out of high school in the Los Angeles area as one of the top defensive players on the West Coast, and he has shown that this year.
Seen flashes of that in the past, but not the consistency that we've seen in 09.
0-2 the count. Let's see if Loesch can't get a double play here. And there it is. Khalil Green to second, out there. First base not in time. Looked like Green had a little trouble getting it out of the glove. So fielder's choice, 5-4 on the putout.
A little trouble with the transition from glove to hand, and then the low throw at second base. Very tough for Schumacher to turn it quickly. Missed opportunity there.
Here is Gomes, and he hits it a mile high on the infield. Schumacher wants it. Makes the catch. You know, Mike Shannon had Brendan Ryan on one of our pregame shows in Pittsburgh, and Brendan said something that you love to hear. He says, I want the ball hit to me. I want the baseball when I'm out there. And a lot of guys don't think that way.
Well, that's the sign of a confident player. You're saying, please don't hit it to me. Guess what? The ball's going to find you. He's confident enough to pile in some sunflower seeds between pitches.
That is confidence. I mean, he's got the whole bag out there. A lot of times, like a Matt Holliday will just pour some in the back pocket. I mean, Brendan goes out there and he's got the entire bag.
Kind of like a squirrel, too. He's got a whole bunch of them on one side of his mouth.
It's tough to do both sides.
Well, you can do it. It's easier to do one side, then you just transfer one at a time, break it, spit it out. Better than chewing tobacco.
Absolutely. And that pitch is a strike. Here's Rosales. 2 outs and a runner at first. 1-1 game here in the 4th. First of a 3-game series between the Cardinals and the Reds. Hannigan is on deck. Loesch working from the first base side. Hit left side. Khalil Green across the diamond to Albert. Big bats coming up for the Cardinals in their half of the 4th with Pujols, Holliday, and Ankiel. 1-1. back at the Tony La Russa era by counting down the 50 finest Cardinals moments under La Russa. And you can tune in to Toyota Cardinals Live before every game on Fox Sports Midwest. And join Fox Sports Midwest on Facebook to tell us what you think should be on the list. And today it was the Ozzie Smith weekend back in '96, Rick. Your former teammate, the Wizard, and his final weekend in Busch Stadium. Of course, that great ceremony as they had the send-off for Ozzie.
We're talking about good shortstop play, and Brendan Ryan kind of makes us think of Ozzie, doesn't it? Nobody did it better than Ozzie.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that. How would you compare the two?
I think Ozzie had as much range as anybody I've ever seen. Brendan Ryan's range is good too, but Ozzie's was phenomenal. Brendan Ryan made a play in Pittsburgh that was Ozzie-like, where he just created a throw on a short three-hopper to him and actually threw the ball as he was running off balance. And again, it looked a lot like Ozzie. Ozzie could make the miraculous play.
Sure. 1 ball, 1 strike on Albert Pujols. Abigail and Cameron Smith are with us and enjoying baseball tonight. They are from Indiana and big Cardinal fans. Here's a 2-1 pitch, and Pujols pulls it foul. Two balls and 2 strikes with Matt Holliday on deck. Abigail and Cameron made the trip all the way from Indiana, and now they're on TV.
How about that?
Big Cardinal fans. And a strikeout of Pujols. He looks back at the home plate umpire and he can't believe it.
Well, you don't see Albert strike out very often. He thinks that pitch is low. Wally Bell thinks it's at the knees. Albert doesn't strike out a lot, and very rarely does he get called out.
Matt Holliday, great numbers against Kip Wells, 8 for 14. One out and nobody on. Holliday breaks his bat, hits it left side to the third baseman, and there's 2 outs. We tried to get Abigail or Cameron to read our disclaimer, but Ricky, you intimidated him.
Well, I think there's just too much legalese in it for him. Maybe they're a little intimidated by it. What do you think?
2 outs, and here's Rick Ankiel.
I didn't realize I was so intimidating, Dan.
I've been nervous all night.
You're right.
Did you intimidate anybody when you're on the mound?
No. I tried to make him feel bad for me, not intimidate him. I had to go the other route.
Now, the guys in the truck are telling me that you have a story about Dave Parker that I need to get out of you, and now you're turning red.
Well, I pitched to Dave Parker at Old Busch Stadium, threw him a pitch down and in. He grounded out to first base, and we're running next to each other. I'm going to cover the bag. He's trying to beat out an infield hit, and he's screaming at me, "Stop throwing me changeups." And I'm yelling back to him, "Dave, that was a fastball." We're running the first together.
Ankiel grounds out to first, and the Cardinals go quietly here in the 4th. It's 1-1 here at Busch Stadium. This date in history, Pete Rose passes Stan the Man as the all-time National League hits leader with 3,631. And that was back in 1981 with our Schnooks. This date in baseball history.
I didn't realize that was off of Mark Littell, who was a former Cardinal. And one of the nicer guys, too. Mark Littell. Wonderful teammate.
And since we're playing the Cincinnati Reds, I probably have not asked you this. Should Pete be in the Hall of Fame?
I would say no. I don't say that without some misgivings, but I would say no. Every player that's ever played the game sees that sign in the clubhouse. And at least from the baseball point of view, you know that that is the worst of all sins.
Sure. Now, there was news a couple of weeks ago that Commissioner Bud Selig might at least take a look at that, but apparently those reports were false.
Yeah, I was annoyed at that news, at the timing of the news, because of Jim Rice and Ricky Henderson going into the Hall of Fame at that same time. You really want to be focusing on those guys, not on Pete Rose.
Absolutely. Ryan Hannigan, and then we'll see the pitcher Kip Wells, who's done a nice job so far.
I'd rather listen to a 45-minute Ricky Henderson acceptance speech than talk about Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame.
I enjoyed Ricky Henderson's Hall of Fame speech.
He was a little different, huh?
It was good. I thought he was semi-humble. Somewhat.
Can you be semi-humble?
That's a good point. See, now you're going to start getting these philosophical conversations that you like to have with Jim Hayes, and it's just not going to happen with me.
No doubt that Ricky Henderson was a great player. I mean, he was an absolutely phenomenal player. Could run, hit with power. I mean, he really was the real deal.
On the outside corner, Cardinals, by the way, only one base hit so far, and the Reds have 4 against Kyle Loesch. Both runs were scored in the first, 1-1 game. I really thought that in the postgame show the other night, and you dressed up as a doctor, was an upgrade over your Shakespearean experience of a couple of years ago. I enjoyed it.
Just trying to amuse you any way we can.
That was good. What else have you done?
I did the Back to the Future costume, too. Don't forget that one. We've got some other ones for you, too.
Honestly, what kind of response do you get when you talk to fans and you're dressed up as Shakespeare?
Well, after I do that, I try not to talk to fans. I just hide out for a while and hope they forget about it. But most of the...
If that's the response, then why do you do it?
Oh, well, I want to know what the response I get in my own house is.
Do I want to know?
They tolerate it. I have teenagers, so they're going to tolerate it.
Now, your daughter, you tell me she doesn't miss a game.
She doesn't miss a game. She loves watching Cardinal baseball. She actually had an internship with the Cardinals this summer in the accounting department, and she loves the Cardinals, absolutely loves the Cardinals.
Here's Kip Wells, and he'll ground out to Brendan Ryan. 2 outs. Back to the top of the lineup, Willie Taveras with 2 outs and nobody on.
One of the great things about Cardinal fans, you look around the stands here today, and there's fans of all ages, people that saw Red Schoendienst play and Stan Musial, and there's young kids maybe coming to their first game. Somebody here at the ballpark is at their first game, and they'll tell that story, or their parents will tell that story. It's a great kind of a generational connecting kind of activity. You can talk about the game while it's going on. I just think there's something magical about this game. No clock. You can debate things. Do you want a pitcher's duel like we see here, or do you want the home run? It's all subjective, really. I by the way,
depends who you're talking to.
I by the way, prefer the pitcher's duel.
And the 1-0 hit into center. An update on the Chicago Cubs and news for Cardinal fans you're going to like to hear when we come back. It's 1-1. Fantasy football is about to change. Introducing the all-new Fox Fantasy Football with customized features and new ways to play. You can log on to foxsports.com on MSN and join in the next generation of fantasy football. A gorgeous look. Busch Stadium tonight here in downtown St. Louis. Sea of red here at Busch Stadium as Khalil Green will lead it off, followed by Yadier Molina and Brendan Ryan.
You know, all that he cares about is seeing runs. He wants them early and often. Cardinals cannot let the Reds stay in this game. There's one thing that the Reds do have is a good guy in the 9th inning. So you don't want to give him a shot at that save. And we're talking about Francisco Cordero.
Yeah, he is tough. All-star this year, Cordero. Heath Bell was an all-star for San Diego. Speaking of closers, we'll see him on Friday. That's a chopper to third. And there's one away. Padres come into town on Friday night, and that is the banner giveaway night on Friday. And then Sunday is a family Sunday. Terrace or pavilion reserved seat. You get the free hot dog and soda. And also it's the picture frame day here at the ballpark. So a couple of good promotions Friday and Sunday when San Diego is in town. How about Kip Wells? He's done a nice job so far.
He really has, making it look easy right now.
He's in relief of Cueto. Cueto went 2 innings, and now Kip in his 3rd inning of work. And here's Yadier Molina. The Rockies mentioned that we'd have an update for you. It's in the bottom of the 2nd, and they lead the Chicago Cubs 4-0. And one of the things that may happen in that game is that Troy Tulowitzki may have just hit a grand slam, and we could have a review, instant replay. You have to wonder, how far is this going to go with reviewable plays? Just how far will Major League Baseball take it? Because this certainly would be the first step of what could be many as far as replays in the game.
Well, I, for one, hope that they don't take it too far. Okay with the home runs. Did they go out? Are they fair? Are they foul? But beyond that, I think you're taking the umpires out of the game, and I think it would make the game last about 45 minutes longer.
And it's too long probably right now.
Well, that's an issue. You know, a lot of fans don't care about that, but certainly a lot do. With the number of pitching changes you see in the 7th, 8th, and the 9th inning, that has a lot to do with the game slowing down.
One and 2 is the count here on Yadier Molina. This is in the outside corner. Kip Wells was so frustrating because he basically could count on a 3.5 hour game, and he wasn't aggressive with good stuff and trying to throw strikes, as you see Dusty and Tony watching.
And he wouldn't finish guys off. I mean, not only aggressive early on in the count, but once you get 0-2, the times where he would, inevitably it would be 3-2.
Next pitch, hit foul. See Tony with the sunglasses, Dusty with that familiar toothpick that he always has with him.
Two very different kind of managers. One loves pressure. That'd be our guy. One is a player's manager, kind of easygoing. Dusty Baker. Very different approaches, but you know, there isn't just one way to approach being a big league manager.
Here's a 2-2.
Tommy Lasorda just.
Well, I want to ask you this because you played
dealt with emotion. That was what he was all about.
For Whitey,
yeah.
Tommy, you've been around Tony for a number of years. Describe the three for you.
Well, I think Tony is the more pressure-oriented manager. Whitey's the thinking, tactical manager, and Tommy Lasorda was the emotional man. That was their makeup, and that's how they led.
Molina with a base hit into right field. Good at bat. He took some really tough pitches that could have gone either way. And thankfully for him, they were called balls.
He knows the strike zone.
Yes, he does. Brings in Brendan Ryan. And even Tony the other day had the comparison of Brendan Ryan, say, well, to Ozzie. I didn't see Ozzie in his prime, but I did see Ozzie at the end of his career, and Brendan Ryan has shown flashes, Ozzie-like flashes with some of the plays in range that he has had. I mean, just to be mentioned in that sentence is
pretty
telling.
good. Yeah.
Yes.
Ozzie's the kind of guy, you know, there's certain hitters that you'd watch take batting practice. People watch Albert take practice. They used to watch Mark McGwire take batting practice. Many people used to watch Ozzie take ground balls.
I was one of them.
Practice. And I was one of them. I'd stand right behind him. And Ozzie used to turn to me and say, "You're not expecting any ball to go through my legs, are you?" And I said, "No, I'm just standing here watching it." And that was a regular occurrence. And it was kind of a joke between the two of us. He'd say, "You're not expecting me to miss any again today, are you?" And I'd say, "No, Oz, I'm just here to admire you."
I remember talking to him one time about taking infield, and he had a routine that he would go through. But one of the things he would do occasionally is put himself in the hole and just stand on one knee, essentially.
Exactly.
You know, and have balls hit right to him. And then sometimes he would not look at second base because he said, if I dive in the hole, I need to have the sensation, the feeling of how far I need to throw the ball and where I'm at on the field and how that needs to be done in the hole. It was an amazing drill he did.
And he would take ground balls while he was on his knees.
Right.
And he would also take high choppers. They'd make him hit AstroTurf choppers, and he would try to jump up and catch it and throw it at the same time, a high bounce, sometimes try to short hop it, and, you know, just really worked at his craft. And I think Brendan Ryan has a chance to be an elite kind of defensive shortstop.
Now, some of us have said he's played well enough to be in consideration for the Gold Glove. I don't know if he's played enough games, number one, and I'm not sure that enough people have really seen him played this well. I mean, we've seen it this year, but I'm not sure enough people have around the league.
But if not him,
who? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. Well, the problem is he has to be considered the everyday shortstop, and I think he's close to that right now. But if you look around the league, I'm not sure there's anybody that stands out. Furcal with L.A. has got really good athleticism, but makes a lot of throwing errors. I mean, you're not going to take the Pirates have gotten rid of Jack Wilson. He was maybe the guy that you might think of, but he's not even in the National League anymore. They've got Ronnie Cedeno, certainly not the Gold Glover.
No.
Reyes has been hurt all year. Many people would say Jimmy Rollins is a good fielding shortstop, but he's not you'd say great, but he's got some offensive numbers, and he's got a name, which of course will get him some
former
votes.
MVP. Good team too. A lot of notoriety obviously with the Phillies. 2-1 the count. And by the way, they did review the ball hit by Tulowitzki for Colorado against the Cubs, and it was ruled a foul ball. Would have been a grand slam and put them up 8-0. They lead 4-0 right now. 3-1 the count here on Brendan Ryan with Kyle Loesch on deck. We talk about it so many times too. When you take your time like Kip does, a lot of times he'll walk around the mound. And we saw this all the time with the Cardinals. And I'm watching Brandon Phillips right now. He's just kicking at the dirt.
Yeah.
You know, kind of walking around, just waiting for the pitch to be thrown. Hands on their hips. A lot of standing out there. Very short lead at first by Molina, and a walk to Brendan Ryan. Tulowitzki, by the way, with a single in that at bat, so it's now a 6-0 game. That's the first walk issued by Kip Wells, the second walk the Cardinals have received tonight.
Loesch will be bunting here, no question about it. The goal will be to move two runners into scoring position. The reason you don't let them swing the bat is you're afraid of the double play. And I think the goal is going to be to try to bunt the ball down the third baseline, make the third baseman field it. Again, Kip Wells has to learn the bunt plays now with the Reds. He knew the Nationals plays, but not the Reds plays.
And what we've seen, too, with Molina, this is a chance defensively to be very, very aggressive if Molina is your runner at second base. I'm sure the middle infielders, more so with Molina than maybe somebody else, will try to keep him especially close so they can get that lead runner and potentially get the double play with Kyle Loesch at the plate.
Well, one way you do that is you start the shortstop and put the wheel play on, and he may come in behind Molina and then break to third.
He's behind him right now, and he's going to second base, and Molina had to hurry and get back there as the third baseman is staying put at third. Now, if you see that, would you think about letting Loesch swing away?
No, I'm still okay with him. But if you bunt the ball to the third baseman, there is no way you're going to get Molina at third. And he may get the lead runner at second. Doubtful it's Brendan Ryan. So I think as long as you can get the bunt to the third baseman, you accomplish your goal. Don't try to do too much. Now, if the shortstop doesn't go to third, the third baseman might try to stay back and cover third, but the pitcher's going to have to cover some ground.
And that's taken for a ball. 2 balls and no strikes. Brendan Ryan, by the way, is essentially in a sprinter's stance over at first base. He's getting a huge lead as the first baseman is off the bag, and Brendan is about 10 steps away from the bag and completely facing second base, ready to run.
Interesting to watch the conversation between Oquendo and Kyle Loesch. I'll bet he said, don't bunt a ball. He might walk you. Kyle Loesch maybe hasn't seen Kip Wells like Jose Oquendo has. And he knows he has times where he loses his control completely, and this might be one of them.
Here's a 2-0 pitch. He bunts, and that will be a foul ball.
And it was ball 3.
It certainly was. Current players and seasons with each club and guys that have played on both teams, Scott Rowland and Mike Lincoln, and that nasty breaking ball he has. Kyle Loesch, our starter tonight. Dennis Reyes worked in the bullpen for both teams. Jason LaRue was their everyday catcher, and Ryan Franklin was with them back in 2006. And look what Ryan Franklin has turned into. Outstanding closer, all-star caliber this year.
And Jason LaRue's done a nice job as the backup to Yadier Molina. When he gets a chance to play, he does a very admirable job. Bunt a strike.
The 2-1 way outside. Now this is what would infuriate Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa. This right, they're giving you the out. If not, hit into a double play.
It infuriates me, and I don't really have any vested interest in the Cincinnati Reds. It's just not what you want to see out of a pitcher. You need strikes. He's encouraging them to just go right at the mitt, but for some reason the plate's jumping all over for him right now.
Molina singled after the ground out by Khalil Green. Then he walked the 8th place hitter, Brendan Ryan, and he's gone 3 balls and a strike here on Kyle Loesch. Loesch, perfect bunt. Kip Wells bare hands and fires to first, and Phillips is there covering. Sack 1-4 on the play. The fans appreciate that.
I hate to be greedy, Dan, but I still would have loved to have seen Kyle Loesch take the first strike that he bunted at. It would have been ball 4 had he taken the first 4 pitches, but there's the bunt down the third base line. Well done. Kip Wells stopped and started on that ball. At first he thought the third baseman might get it, and then had to hustle to make the play. He is a very good athlete, Kip Wells.
Yes. And he holds all kinds of school records for the Baylor Bears. He was a fine pitcher for Baylor. Skip is 1 for 2. He doubled back in the first. He's also struck out. That was against Wells, and the double was against Cueto. 1-1 game. Trying to elevate here on Schumacher. Colby Rasmus is on deck. You have first base open here. You know, would you rather deal with Colby Rasmus? I think a little bit of a funk.
I think if you're Kip Wells, you throw strikes to whoever you can throw strikes to. You put yourself in a situation of having to pitch with the bases loaded, you're making your job too tough.
1-0 pitch to Skip. 2-0. Colby, by the way, twice his flight out to center. Big gap in the right center field as they shade him to the opposite way. in the dirt. Ball gets back to the backstop, but nowhere to go. And Brendan Ryan is lucky that they did not throw down to second. He was about halfway, if not more, to third.
Well, it's a good reaction by Molina at third to realize this ball was coming right back to the catcher, but Brendan Ryan had initially read that Molina was going, and he took off. Then he found out, oops, I better get back. That would have been a tough throw for the catcher, but Ryan and Molina did the right thing.
Three and 0 the count. Take a strike, if not two. See the first baseman over there, Joey Votto, stretching, trying to stay loose. And that one was almost to the backstop as well. And time is called by the catcher, and we'll have a visit on the mound. Kip has walked two in this inning. He's given up a base hit, and it brings in Colby Rasmus.
Hannigan was fortunate just to catch that pitch.
Yes, he was.
3-0 pitch. You wouldn't expect it to be that far out of the strike zone. And he just stuck up his glove and fortunately came up with it. Dick Cole trying to get the mechanics down. How about this, Dan? You've got a pitcher you haven't worked with at all, and you're out there talking mechanics with him. You're talking pitching with a guy that you haven't had very long. It's kind of a mystery to you. For a new pitcher, you're kind of on your own.
Yep.
Now, a veteran guy who knows what he's doing will tell his pitching coach, and I think of a guy like Bob Tewksbury, gets traded from one team to another. He'll tell his pitching coach, because he's smart enough, watch for me doing this. This is what I do when I start to lose my control or lose my composure, and give him a little bit of a clue on how to help you.
Well, I'm sure one thing he said is throw strikes.
It's what they tell you when you're 8.
Yeah. 2 outs, bases loaded. Wells now working from the windup. First pitch to Colby. Taken for a ball.
Now, when you're 8 and they tell you that, it's a little nicer. Hey, how about throwing strikes? Okay, have fun. When you're 28, they don't quite say it that nicely.
Burton, the right-hander, is getting loose in the pen for the Cincinnati Reds. Cardinals half of the 5th. We're tied up 1-1. Bases loaded here for Colby Rasmus. The next to him.
Now here's where every part of you, Dan, every part of you says it's a 2-0 count. This is a good pitch to hit right here, but I still say take a strike. It goes against the grain of the way Tony La Russa and Hal McRae teach hitting. They want guys to be aggressive, but Kip Wells is all over the place now. Take a strike.
Well, maybe even 2. I mean, look who's on deck. The 2-0 pitch.
Now you take 2.
Remember, Pujols came up with the bases loaded in Pittsburgh, and he picked up RBIs 98, 99, and 100. 3-0 the count here on Colby Rasmus. Will he take another?
I'm guessing yes.
By the way, Albert Pujols is 8 for 10 with 27 RBIs with the bases loaded this year. Ridiculous numbers. The 3-1 pitch to Colby Rasmus. He walked him, and the Cardinals have the lead 2-1 here in the 5th. And look who's stepping in. Nine 100 RBI seasons to begin his career. This season, 8 for 10, 5 grand slams, 11 in his illustrious career. Now Pujols against Kip Wells his first time struck out. That will be it, as Dusty Baker has seen enough as Kip Wells walks in the go-ahead run here in the 5th, and he walks 3 in this inning alone. Remember one of the great home runs he has hit this year? We flash back. David Weathers. Oh, no, he didn't, did he? Grand slam for Albert Pujols, one of the dramatic Albert Pujols will have the bases loaded. 2-1 St. Louis here in the 5th inning. Brendan Ryan standing over there at third base. Schumacher and Rasmus back-to-back walks. Brendan Ryan was a walk as well. And Colby picks up the RBI, by the way, his 38th this year. And the numbers with the bases loaded staggering for Albert Pujols. Now, this is our Chevy call to the bullpen. Jared Burton into the game. We talked about this the last time. Now, Dusty Baker saw Barry Bonds walk intentionally with the bases loaded. One swing of the bat, he could put this game out of reach.
Yeah, but one swing of the bat of the guy on deck, and he could put it out of reach as well.
That's right.
That's the difference. How would you like to be Jared Burton? Been on the disabled list since July 26th with shoulder fatigue. Now he's ready, and he comes into this game in this situation.
The first pitch to Pujols is a strike. Many times Albert will take that first pitch just to get a read of the new pitcher.
It just has that feel, doesn't it?
Sure does. He has 2 career grand slams against the Cincinnati Reds. Crowd on their feet here at Busch Stadium. The 0-1. It's almost like he's trying to contain his smile in that dugout. The 1-1. Pujols, left field, and that will be caught. He may have broken his bat. The Cardinals, though, take the lead with a bases-loaded walk by Colby Rasmus. The Cardinals back at home tomorrow night at 6:30 with our pregame show. The Cardinals and the Reds in Game 2 are Bud Light What's on Tap. The difference is drinkability. It's 2-1 St. Louis here in the top of the 6th at Busch Stadium. Bases loaded walk by Colby Rasmus now the difference in the game. Alex Gonzalez the hitter. Gonzalez, Phillips, and Votto. Cardinals have been out hit 4-2, but they lead it 2-1. Busch Stadium was ready to erupt as Pujols flied out to left.
Reds are very lucky. It's only 2-1 right now. Albert just missed.
Yes, he did.
That pitch from Jared Burton. Broke his bat, got under it a bit. The crowd was very hopeful that he actually got a little more of that pitch. Kyle Loesch now with an opportunity. Throw up another 0, settle into the lead. Big inning for him.
And that's pulled foul, 2 balls and a strike.
You know, we talk about that a lot, Dan, but there is a very real sense in the dugouts of that next inning and how important it is to shut the door when you get a lead and settle into the lead. Feel like you're playing catch up. If you're the Reds, you've got the lead. If you're the Cardinals, it's a big 0 here.
3-1.
So much of this game is played between the ears.
And there's a high fly ball out to deep left. Backing up, Holiday. He's got room to make the catch. Carried a little bit further than I thought. New surroundings for Matt Holliday and still getting used to it here at Busch Stadium.
Yeah, where is that wall again? Oh, there it is.
Plenty of room.
There it is. Wanted to look at all the Hall of Famers on the wall in left field.
Two to 1 Cardinals, 1 out here in the 6th. Brandon Phillips with the RBI for Cincinnati. And a fly ball into shallow right. And Keel is there for out number 2. I'm sure Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa have to be pleased with what they've seen here so far.
Interesting that Tony La Russa's on the phone right now. Dennis Reyes throwing for the Cardinals. He likes what Loesch has done, but he's not going to go too far with him either.
But is this a situation, though, you'd like to see him pushed a little bit further in this game? Only given up 4 base hits. Pitch count at 72.
I think he should go further than this. I think you're trying to help his psyche a bit, but I think you're more than that trying to help out your bullpen as well. And you've got to find out whether or not he's got it back fully or not. And the only way to do that is to throw more pitches. And especially if you're going strong. Again, it really depends in the 5th, 6th, and 7th inning if are you getting sharper and stronger, or you're showing signs of fatigue. And that's the pitching coach's job to see that, point it out to the manager, and it's his decision whether or not to take him out or not.
Here's a 1-1 pitch with 2 outs. This is Joey Votto, who was emotionally spent during the offseason and again in spring training. Had to go on the disabled list to the passing of his dad. And Votto called it a social anxiety disorder, very similar to what Khalil Green has gone through this year. And he can hit. 3-1 pitch. Chops one to first, backhanded by Pujols, and he can't come up with it. Very tough play, and that's an error on Albert. A couple of different ways to look at it. You can charge it like that and try to get the short hop or play back on it with your pitcher covering it first and make it a bang-bang play at the bag.
And that's a decision you've got to make very quickly. You don't have time to think about it, but if Albert stays back, he probably gets a better hop than the one that he tried to short hop. Short hop's always tough. Albert had the glove on it, but wasn't able to close it around the ball, and it falls away for an error. He hasn't had one of those in a while.
No. Valentine now is the hitter.
Albert had a rash of errors early in the season, but he still has made some great plays over there.
Well, I've talked to Jose Oquendo. I know you're very close with him, and the one thing that he talks about with Albert and with Molina, if they make errors, it's errors of aggression, meaning
Right.
they're very aggressive, and taking a chance like that on a short hop, maybe Albert will throw to third trying to get a lead runner, Molina trying to throw behind a runner, those kind of plays, which they, as a coaching staff, encourage. They want those guys to play free and easy and play aggressive.
What leads to him being able to make throws out at the plate and at third base, picking off lead runners, making plays off the tarp down the right field line, as we've seen in the last homestand. I mean, he's made some incredible plays. He really has.
Play against was it the last homestand like you're talking about on the tarp was just terrific. You would figure Yachty is on his way to another Gold Glove.
He has no equal in the National League.
No.
And I think now that he's an all-star, I think people are on a national basis more aware of the job that Yachty or Molina does behind the plate.
There was an article recently in a national magazine talking about Molina, and in that article there was some of the prominent catchers in both leagues talking about Molina, and they said hands down his reputation is that he is the best defensive catcher in the game right now. That's his peers saying that. Here's a 1-2 to Valentine, instead another check on Votto. Outfield is deep. Another check on Votto. Reds picked up a run in the first. Brandon Phillips with a sac fly, the RBI. Cardinals with a sacrifice fly, RBI from Holiday in the first. And a bases loaded walk to Colby Rasmus for the Cardinals in the bottom of the fifth. They have a 2-1 lead. Molina to first, and Votto is back in there. Awfully concerned right now with Joey Votto, aren't they?
I think with 2 outs, you have to be concerned about the hitter first and foremost. Especially when you've got 2 strikes on him, put him away. If Votto runs, so be it.
2-2 pitch. Votto is running. Ground ball to short. Brendan bobbled, but stays with it to make the play. Reds have stranded 4, and it's a 2-1 game. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by AT&T. Switch to the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. The Dodge Summer Clearance is here. Get to your Dodge dealer today for some of the best deals of the season. And by Taco Bell, your place to win tickets or a VIP ticket package to the Mizzou, Illinois arch rivalry game. Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin with you at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. And Matt Holliday leads it off for the Cardinals. Holliday, Ankiel, and Green.
And the big picture here is the Cardinals have a chance to push to +12 for the first time this season. They got to 11 yesterday. And with the Cubs losing, a chance to pick up another game. They start action 2 games in front of the Cubs.
Houston 6 along with Milwaukee. Those two teams 6 games out. Reds started 12.5 games back in Pittsburgh. 16 games out, and they have lost 8 straight. Here's a 1-1 pitch. On the inside corner, 1-2.
Holliday not at all happy with that call. That was a slider that broke very late. And I would say a pretty generous strike zone tonight. I'm all for that.
I am too. That's one of the ways, though, that you speed up games. If you call the actual strike zone.
Way to go, Wally Bell.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
Players will tell you they just want consistency, but I think hitters want consistency and a small strike zone.
When you were playing, was there a trade that was made on one of your teams as Blake Hawksworth is getting loose that you felt as a player, not just a part of the fan base, as that's hit into deep center field to the wall, and it is off the wall? No catch, and Holliday to second, on his way to third, and somehow they're able to get that back in. That's Taveras out there in center, and a terrific effort out there in center field. A triple for Holliday. Boy, he hit that wall pretty hard, it looked like, too.
He really did. He gave a great effort on this ball that was hit to straightaway center field. Taveras, I've seen him not get good jumps on balls, but I think he got a very good jump on this one, as he does on a dead sprint right back to the wall, leaps and crashes into the fence. Oh my. Still manages to pick up the ball and get it in after this collision.
It's brought to you by the Exmo Cam Hot Shot Sports Bar and Grill. Location 1 block south of the ballpark on Broadway.
And what's Dusty Baker thinking right now as he goes out to check on another injured player?
And the way that this works out, Ricky Ankiel is coming up. But I was about to ask you, though, was there a trade that when you were playing that gave a jolt to the clubhouse that you remember a team that you were on?
Cesar Cedeno.
Sure. That was huge.
1985, and he was a guy that, you knew he was a great player in the game, and, he, of course, was a great player with the Cincinnati Reds. And when he came over to the Cardinals, he was just red hot and got a lot of big hits. Home run against the Mets to win a 1-0 game in New York, and he just fit right in right away, and you just knew that he maybe had a chance to do something special with that ball club. Good round of applause for Willie Taveras on a nice effort.
So he's going to stay in the game, and Johnny Cueto already had to leave after 2 innings. Apparent leg injury.
He's staying in the game, but he doesn't look too sure of himself there in center field. He's missed some time from injury. He had a hamstring issue. Cardinals actually played a series in Cincinnati where he was playing very poor center field, but he was playing with really on one leg. Playing center field, that's tough to do.
So in a 2-1 game, infield is drawn in here for the Cincinnati Reds, and a good chance for Ankiel to add to the lead. For 2. He is struck out and grounded out, average at 237. He's in right field tonight. Ryan Ludwig on the bench. 1-0 and Keel.
And that bullet off the center field wall is the answer to your question why you cannot walk Albert Pujols with the bases loaded. Not that the same thing would have happened carrying over to the next inning, but when you've got somebody with that kind of firepower that Matt Holliday has, you've got to pitch to Albert.
And the 1-1 is lifted into shallow center. Taveras will make the catch. Holliday back to third. How would you rate these outfield arms?
I'd say Taveras has a pretty good arm. Again, we like the arm of Gomes in left, if not the kind of positioning that he had. Valentin, I haven't seen his arm, but I'll tell you, the guy who's got the good arm's not out there. Jay Bruce,
right,
who's on the disabled list. There's Gomes in left. He had a very strong throw. I would say above average arm for a left fielder especially, but the form wasn't there on the Cardinals' first run in the first inning. Sacrifice fly by Holliday.
So 1 out, infield still drawn in. Matt Holliday over there at third base. Khalil Green twice is grounded out to third. Pitch out and undoing. Molina on deck. With Hawksworth up and throwing, you would figure that he's coming in this game.
I would guess he is.
And he's taken on a greater role out there. Really impressive in the Dodgers series. And Tony La Russa was asked about moving Blake Hawksworth possibly to the rotation, maybe as the fifth starter. And he said, not right now. He's too important to us in that role in the bullpen. So Blake will come into this ball game.
I'm sure that was an answer that Blake Hawksworth liked to hear out of his manager, that he considers him valuable in the bullpen. He's just not a mop-up guy anymore. That's really what he was when he first came up, but now he's a guy that Tony thinks can get some special outs in that 7th inning, 8th inning area. And he really was good against the Dodgers, wasn't he?
Oh,
that was an extra inning game where he picked up his first major league victory.
And that was one of the biggest wins of the year, really. I mean,
I agree.
You think about great wins if you're a championship caliber team, and certain ones that stand out. To me, the Pujols Grand Slam and Cincinnati, that's one of those games.
The Dodger game was the most entertaining game we've seen all year.
Yes.
There was a lot to that. Manny Ramirez thrown out at the plate.
And the ball scoots away, but Holliday can't advance. And again, that's the second time it's hit off that brick, and I'm sure he couldn't really tell if he had a grip on it, a handle on it. Hit the brick behind him and came right back.
Well, it's one of the things you have to check on when you're in a ballpark, in a new ballpark, is what's the ball going to do when it gets away from the catcher? Is it going to bounce back quickly? Is there a pad there? Does it have different contours to it? This does have some different contours. It could hit one of those poles and go left or right. But we've seen two today bounce right back to the catcher. And a runner leading off third has to be aware of that. Part of the job of the third base coach is to study that and talk to his runners about it.
3-1 the count on Green. Molina on deck. Khalil with 5 home runs, 21 RBIs. And he hits it out to deep left center field. Taveras is back to the wall, and it's off the wall. Holliday will score, and Khalil Green has himself a double, and it's 3-1 Cardinals.
Khalil Green drives one off the base of the wall. You wonder sometimes where Green gets his power from, as Taveras did not even have his eye towards home plate there, as that ball almost hit off of him as he was facing the center field wall. A little gun shy perhaps in center field. I'm not sure I can blame him.
And so now it's Molina with 1 out and a runner at second base. 3-1 Cardinals. Big gap in left center field. Looked like Molina was trying to go that way too.
And that was a big hit by Khalil Green.
They're always talking about anything positive with him just to try to get him going. And it looks like his role primarily will be coming out the bench in a right-handed bat. There's that gap that we were talking about right there in left center.
What's a game of negatives? I mean, you could hit the ball hard a couple of times in 4 plate appearances. You go 0 for 4. You hit line drives right at people, and you're just faced with a negative. And if you're not playing every day, you find yourself sitting on that for 5 days thinking about it. And I mean, it's really a game of negatives unless you can figure out a way to get through that and realize, at some point, if you're in the big leagues, Dan, the best thing to tell yourself when you wake up in the morning is, I'm one of the best 700 or 800 players on the planet.
Right.
Okay. I may not be the best 5, but I'm one of the best 700 or 800.
And that is foul. Hit out of play and into the second deck here at Busch Stadium. That's a hit and an RBI in 3 straight games for Khalil Green. And the first of those 3 was that clutch pinch hit double RBI that he had against Pittsburgh the other night, late in that ball game.
Broke a long offer at the big league level, although he'd had some good games in AAA.
Right.
Games with some pop, 4-hit games.
Here's the 0-2. Spoiled again by Yadi Molina. And that one made it to the upper deck. Kip Wells and now Burton, 2 pitchers that really don't pick up the pace out there when they're on the mound.
A lot of infielders looking to the ground, kicking their feet.
0-2 the count. Molina, that's a fair ball. Backhanded by the third baseman. The tag, though, is there by Joey Votto. Just stayed fair inside that third base line. Well, display your favorite Cardinal memories in this one-of-a-kind picture frame with attached Fredbird bobblehead. It's available to 25,000 fans on Sunday, August 16th. If you'd like to purchase tickets, give us a call at 345-9000. Or, as always, you can do it by visiting STLCardinals.com. That is a family Sunday as well. Make a whole day of it. You got the ice cream Sunday, the Ford Plaza, free ice cream for the kids. Come on down and get your hot dog and soda with a terrace reserve seat, pavilion reserve seat as well. Get the free hot dog and soda, and you also get the Fredbird picture frame. Brian Ludwig has moved to the on-deck circle. That'll be this Sunday against the Padres. Brendan Ryan with a high fly ball. Deep left center field. And that one is off the wall. Green will score, and it's 4-1 Cardinals. RBI double by Brendan Ryan, and that's 3 fly balls that have hit the wall in this inning.
Well, the infielders are getting bored for the Reds because the pitchers are working slowly, but the outfielders are getting worn out. 3 balls off the center field wall, left center field wall. This one, Brendan Ryan, he gets a pitch up in the strike zone and drives it off the base of the wall. This one handled by the left fielder, Gomes. 3 extra base hits, 2 more Cardinal runs, and the lead is extended.
So 2 outs, and here is Ludwig. And he skies one to shallow right center field. And the catch is made. The Cardinals add to their lead with 2 more. They only have 5 hits tonight, but they lead it 4-1 after 6. The St. Louis Cardinals, the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services, and Fox Sports Midwest have joined together to encourage young people not to smoke, because once you start, it's hard to stop. Strike out tobacco so we can all breathe easier. Call the Missouri Tobacco Quit line at 1-800-QUIT-NOW. 4-1 St. Louis here in the top of the 7th. Cardinals have out hit the Reds 5-4, and a couple of the changes for the Cardinals. At third base, it's Mark DeRosa. Talked about his back being an issue yesterday and again tonight. And on the mound, Blake Hawksworth. As Tony is going to go to the bullpen early in this game. We are in the 7th. And Hawksworth, this will be his 13th appearance. He was saying the other day, as a starter, it takes him about 45 minutes to get ready for the start.
I couldn't believe that number. I heard you say that.
45 minutes. And one of the things that he talked about was just...
Is he including his pregame meal in that?
I mean, it's just the mental preparation, the running, the stretching, the pitching. And now, as a reliever, he's got to change all that. But I'm sure it's something that he doesn't mind if he gets to stay in the big leagues.
And he's defining that to include more than throwing, obviously. But the preparation, and in some ways, you'd say the starter's preparation is really a 4-day process. I mean, in some ways, it really is.
You start thinking about it. And there's Schumacher making the play and showing off the arm. Takes a hit away from Gomes. Pitch in for Healthy Smiles with Delta Dental and the Cardinals. Purchase a $2 raffle ticket for a chance to win an autographed baseball by Albert Pujols. Go to smilesleague.com.
But we think that Adam Wainwright has learned something from his short time in the bullpen as a Cardinal closer, that he learned he can get ready quicker, and the mental adjustment to say, I can't take that 45 minutes anymore. I've got to get ready in about 20 pitches mentally and physically. And Wainwright throws very few pitches to get ready, and I think that's why he's able to go deeper into games. So perhaps it's something that could help Blake Hawksworth if he ever goes back to being a starting pitcher.
Well, Dave Duncan even talked about that a couple of weeks ago, that they do monitor and chart the pitches as far as warming up and how long it takes, and it's one of the reasons why they have extended at times Adam Wainwright. That pitch taken for a strike.
Well, I've heard numbers in the 20s in terms of how many pitches. And I can tell you that the average number, well, I know I threw 50 and I didn't even count them. But after I was done warming up, the pitching coach would come over and show me his little clicker, and it was always on 50. It just felt like that was about the right number. But for Wainwright, 20 pitches, that's an extra 2 innings worth of work.
Do you remember a few years ago with Jason Isringhausen? It was Marty Mason that actually charted, the amount of appearances he had and what they thought it took for him to get loose. This is chopped to short, and they changed the way that Izzy would get loose as well. 2 outs. And how about the important role that now Blake Hawksworth is starting to attain here with the Cardinals?
Well, this is the 7th inning of a game in which your team has a lead. And they don't just trust that inning to anybody. I mean, it's a guy this is not a mop-up role. This is an important inning. If you can get through the 7th, get closer into the closer territory, you've done a great job. That's what the hold's all about. That's kind of a funny name for a baseball statistic, but managers have come to really respect what pitchers can do in the 7th and 8th inning of games.
Here is Hannigan. Lance Nix is on deck. And the veterans out there, Brian Franklin, Trevor Miller, Dennis Reyes. You know that they have certainly taken Hawksworth under their wing and tried to help him out. I love how he just gets the ball, and he has been so aggressive.
And he's a likable, teachable kind of guy, too. So those 3 that we just saw out in the bullpen, I'm sure have a eager pupil.
And he has paid his dues. Number of years in the minor leagues. And I talked to some of his teammates recently, Ricky, and they said Hawksworth is getting back to where he was a few years ago when he was the pitcher of the year in the organization. And when he was healthy, they said he had nasty stuff. And he's just starting to feel healthy again and get back to that form. And we're seeing it now. Here's a 1-2.
He's pretty nasty in that Dodger game we talked about. He had the good low kind of exploding fastball. He just kind of hung low and just popped into the glove. Didn't have a lot of sink to it, but moved, and then a really, really sharp slider. And I'm not sure if it was a split or a changeup, but whatever he was using as his off speed was also effective.
It's slowly left side. DeRosa with it. Makes the play. Blake Hawksworth, the scoreless 7th. And the Cardinals have the top of the lineup coming up. Four, 5, and 1 for St. Louis. 1-4-0 for the Reds. Bottom of the 7th here at Busch Stadium. Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin with you. We'll have Game 2 for you tomorrow at 6:30 with the pregame show. This Sunday night at Petco Park in San Diego, the USA's best high school baseball players take the national stage in the 7th annual Aflac All-American High School Baseball Classic. Craig Biggio will join the crew live. It's in HD. Game time is 7 on Fox Sports Midwest. Top of the lineup for the Cardinals, and they will face a new pitcher. Lefty is in.
Daniel Ray Herrera, left-hander, has a screwball. That's really his pitch. Does not throw particularly hard, but has had a very good year out of the bullpen. Low ERA, 2.54.
Did you ever mess with a screwball?
I tried. Didn't work. Tried a forkball, didn't work. Throw a screwball, you actually have to put your hand opposite the way you throw a curveball. You're actually facing your hand away from your body, and then you have to throw the front of the ball and actually pull your arm away from your body at the same time as you release it. It's just a very awkward way to release a baseball.
Now, the way you just described it sounds like
your arm's falling off.
Like a perfect situation for Dr. Andrews.
It's no question about it. But how does a guy like Fernando Valenzuela throw it for as many years as he did? He retired at, what, 62, Fernando? With the Cardinals. Got to play with the Cardinals. But a teammate of Fernando's in L.A. And those guys said that really if you throw it properly, it doesn't have any more strain on your arm. But, boy, it sure looks like it.
Here's a 1-2.
Now, of course, he won't throw it to the same degree to left-handers. And in some ways, the typical baseball saying would be a left-hander with a screwball is better against a right-handed hitter than he is a lefty.
2-2. Schumacher has doubled and walked tonight as a run scored. Bottom dropped out of that pitch there.
There it is. There's the bottom dropping out of the screwball. He throws the top of the ball, gets spin in the opposite direction of a curveball, in on a left-handed hitter, and Schumacher swings over top it.
So against a leadoff man, Skip Schumacher, Herrera showed a fastball, screwball, curveball, and then a changeup. All those pitches to one hitter.
I'm okay with that coming out of the pen. I'm
not as a starter.
Not as a starter. because as a reliever, you might only have 4 pitches. You better get him out with something.
1 ball, 1 strike.
Tony West brought his fan club here. There's T. He's so popular, he's got people coming out of the woodwork just to see him. Look at that crowd.
Herrera steps off the mound, and the count is 1-1 on Colby Rasmus. Rasmus with a bases loaded walk back in the 5th to break a 1-1 game in favor of the Cardinals to 2-1. As Colby pounds it on the ground to Dave McKay, and the quick hands of Dave McKay over there. You can see that is not us doing that. That's we wouldn't do that to Big Dog.
And there's Tom Mee's picture on the wall. One of the most popular items for all the people that come up here to the booth.
Colby is out, 2 away, and it brings in Albert Pujols. Very much a popular picture, and Tom has been gracious enough to actually make those in little 8x10s, and if you do make it to the booth, he has signed a bunch, and the fans really have appreciated that over the years. Nothing
Incredible.
like that Tom Mee director signed picture. So 2 outs and nobody on. First pitch to Albert is a strike. Baseball coaches from the Missouri Valley Conference are here. Their baseball meetings, and they're in one of the suites tonight here at Busch Stadium, taking in the Cardinals and the Reds. MVC has got some of the best basketball and baseball in the country.
Reds have the shift on. Albert. Brandon Phillips was actually still walking to his position when Herrera threw the first pitch to Albert. He hadn't gotten there yet.
A team doing this against Pujols, because he sprays the ball everywhere.
I'm not sure Phillips was really sold on doing it in the first place.
You always see the lefty shifts, but not the righty. And if he throws that little screwball on the outside portion of the plate, Pujols will just take that to right.
And I guess if he takes it to right, Dusty Baker will be happy.
I guess what plays into this equation is the fact that Herrera throws about 82, 83 miles an hour, so he's figuring that Pujols certainly is going to pull the ball, but Albert, with his great discipline, is able to spray it.
But even if you don't throw hard, if you're throwing a screwball and the ball's moving away from you,
exactly.
I'm not so sure it isn't the right thing for Albert to take that ball in that right center field gap.
A 3-1. There he is to right. Base hit. So a 2-out base hit, and it brings in Holiday.
So Albert's smiling, but I still think on the inside, Dusty Baker's saying at least it's not 5-1. Perfect hitting right there.
So there's Phillips on the shift.
Well, he doesn't catch that ball anyway. I'm not sure Shaquille O'Neal catches that ball.
Shaq will be here tomorrow night. He'll throw out the first pitch and challenge Albert Pujols. Various drills, I guess, in baseball. Fisher, right-hander, is getting loose in the pen. Holiday reaches for it, hits it out to deep left field, but the catch is made. So Pujols stranded. Gomes makes the catch on the run near the track. And we have played 7 here at Busch Stadium. Cardinals lead at 4-1. recap. And the Cardinals have a 4-1 lead as Matt Holliday picked up a sacrifice fly. This was tied up at 1-1 with Skip Schumacher scoring back in the first. Bases loaded walk to Colby Rasmus. And the Cardinals took a 2-1 lead to Leo Green. RBI double. Matt Holliday would come around to score after his triple. And Brendan Ryan would send one off the wall as well. That made it 4-1. And that's where it stands right now. Second inning of work now for Blake Hawksworth. This is Drew Sutton. Adam Burnson is watching the game tonight with his fiancee Sarah Mars, and he sent us a nice note. He said he was getting ready to propose to his fiancee last week. And good, here's Pujols. He is involved in this story. He was getting ready to propose in a few weeks to his fiancee, and Albert came up with the bases loaded. They're watching the game, and he said to his girlfriend at the time that he would propose to her if he hit a grand slam, and sure enough, Albert hit a grand slam.
How about that?
So all of a sudden, he's now engaged. So congratulations to Adam Burnson and his fiancee Sarah Mars.
Albert's a matchmaker.
Albert's grand slam. A few years, might be hoping that turned into a double play. No, it's a lovely experience, Ricky.
It's a great experience.
I
could just see him at their 50th wedding anniversary. Yeah, I decided to marry him because my favorite player hit a home run.
Why couldn't he scale the wall? Here's a 1-2 pitch to Tavares. Chops it to short. Brendan has to be quick. Oh, look at that play. Brendan Ryan.
I'm not even sure he needs a glove.
Mercedes-Benz E-Class attention assist of the game.
There's Brendan Ryan. I don't need a glove. Just barehanded again. That's the second time he's done that this week. Here's a guy that's pretty confident what he's doing at the shortstop position. I think he could have probably used the glove, but why bother?
2 outs. And that pitch is taken low and away. What are you laughing about?
I'm just with you. I'm just with you, Dan. That's all. Just happy to be here. Got any other emails?
That's it. There's a base hit in the right. And Gonzalez is aboard with 2 outs. Let's go back to 1985. This date, the way, way, way back machine. Kurt Kepshire was pitching and then out after 1 inning, and look who comes in.
8 innings of relief. I remember that day.
5 hits. What happened with the 2 walks, Ricky? You're better than that.
I think they were strikes. I thought they were close pitches. I don't remember, actually. I can't believe I had that many strikeouts. Might have been a career high.
People don't know you had that hard, sinking fastball that you possessed. You would unleash it once a year.
I want to know how everybody found out. I knew this day felt kind of special when I woke up. I couldn't really remember what I did in '85.
You scored a run that game too, but you were 0 for 2 at the plate.
I bet I didn't strike out. I bet I put the ball in play. I'm being told now that I did. I actually had a game in Philadelphia where I was struck out on a 4-2 pitch. The count was 4 balls and 2 strikes, and I struck out. Got the tape at home.
You want to explain that?
Well, I was batting. Ozzie Smith was on first base. He steals second on the first pitch. It's a ball. They don't put it up on the scoreboard.
I've got to be honest, this sounds like an Al story.
It's true. I'll take that as a compliment. So it's 1-0, and then I look up at the scoreboard a little later after he gets behind 3-0, and the scoreboard says 2-0. Then they get a couple strikes, then a ball, and I walk down to first base, and they call me back. And I asked the umpire, I said, no, that's 4 balls. He asked all the other umpires, they said, no, it's 3. And they wouldn't let me go to first, and then I struck out.
Hawksworth, 2 scoreless innings.
Life's not always fair, Dan.
Life lessons from Rick Gordon. By Hardee's. And this is our Hardee's prime cut of the game. Matt Holliday.
Triple off the center field wall by Holliday. Big hit in this game.
And this is brought to you by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. So Matt Holliday with our Hardee's prime cut of the game. And a new pitcher is in, Carlos Fisher.
Pitcher number 5 for the Cincinnati Reds, and the Cardinals very happy not to see the closer of the Reds here tonight, Francisco Cordero. They'd like to keep it that way, as this is a team that really has a revamped bullpen. Dan, David Weathers went to the Milwaukee Brewers. He was traded for that proverbial player to be named later to strengthen the Brewers bullpen.
Yeah, it gives Dusty and Walt Jocketty now a look at some of these younger pitchers. First pitch is popped up by Ankiel, and the play is made. Ryan Franklin getting loose in the bullpen, and Mark DeRosa getting set to dig in for the first time tonight. Mitchell Boggs is getting the start tomorrow. He missed the pregame show. Todd Wellemeyer's soreness in his elbow, so that happened over the weekend. He was throwing on the side, and he has been scratched from that start. Boggs will go for the Cardinals tomorrow night, and this is DeRosa. Now Mark DeRosa, season numbers, 21 home runs, 63 RBIs. With the Cardinals, his average has been down, but the power numbers have been very good.
A lot of home runs as a Cardinal, and I like the leadership he's brought to this club. Seems to be very well liked in the clubhouse. Everybody's happy to have him here. He has a lot of versatility on the field.
1 ball, 1 strike.
He had such a slow start, Dan, but he really has turned it around.
He's played very good defensively over at third base. It gives the Cardinals flexibility at second, third, and the outfield. Remember his first game on a Sunday afternoon, he made that diving catch in left field. Here's a 2-1 to Mark DeRosa. And DeRosa talked about with his back issue that flared up yesterday before the game, in which he could not play, also affects how he throws. He feels pain in his arm.
That, of course, reminds us of Troy Gloss, who we're told may begin some tee work tomorrow. He's had some issues throwing and also with his back after coming back from his shoulder problems, and he kind of stopped and started, and there's thought that Troy Gloss will be able to swing off a tee, and I think throwing's still an issue for Troy.
Three and 2 the count on DeRosa. Little check swing to stay alive.
And Dan, we probably haven't said enough, maybe you have, maybe I haven't, about the job that Kyle Loesch did here tonight. Very important start for him. We both thought that prior to the game. 6 innings, 1 run, 4 hits for Loesch. And that's really what the Cardinals expect out of him and hope for, with Loesch being, I guess you'd call him, the number 4 Cardinal starter right now.
And DeRosa hits it out of play. You're right. This is the situation that Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan talked about, with Kyle tonight being a very important start. And they went further to talk about the start that was supposed to be for Todd Wellemeyer tomorrow night, how important that was for him this year.
We've been focused a lot about that 5th spot in the rotation, and not maybe enough on the 4th spot.
And that's ball 4 to Mark DeRosa. Works a walk. And this is our pitch by pitch feature presented by Chevrolet.
And Carlos Fisher threw a lot of them to DeRosa. Fastball in, fouled it off, slider down and away, 1-1 to count. This is what a hitter has to do to kind of battle a pitcher, make him work, make him throw a lot of pitches, foul one off when you can. And he fouls off a couple of them and then ends up working out the walk. That's what good hitters do.
Here's Yadier Molina. Short lead at first by DeRosa. The Reds will have Votto, Valentin, and Gomes coming up. Looking ahead to the top of the 9th. Oakland beat Baltimore today 9-1. Toronto over the Yankees 5-4. It was Boston 6, Detroit 5.
Loesch's last win, Dan, July 7th.
Wow. Rockies beating up on the Cubbies 8-1, bottom of the 7th. And a ground ball hit to short. Flip to second, out there, and out at first. Double play. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Budweiser, who thanks you for being a designated driver, by Bank of America. Cardinals banking only at Bank of America. And by Ameristar. More casino, more fun. Ryan Franklin into the ballgame for the Cardinals. It's turned out to be a gorgeous night for baseball here in downtown St. Louis. Dan McLaughlin and Rick Horton with you tonight. And the Cardinals closer is in, and Franklin has just been sensational this year.
Only had 2 blown saves all season long. And what's amazing about Ryan Franklin is he does not have one dominant pitch, but he has a number of high quality pitches. And he throws them all for strikes. Been in 43 games. There's the 26 saves out of 28 opportunities, the low earned run average. He's an all-star. And what a thrill that was for him to represent his team and the National League in the All-Star game and pitch well in it.
And the first pitch is a strike to Joey Votto. Tom Gorzolani got shelled for Chicago tonight as he went an inning and a third and gave up 6 earned runs. Schumacher makes the play, and U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live is coming up, and Jim Hayes will have a big hand in that. Jim.
Yeah, Pat Paris will be joined by Rick Horton, and coming up after the game, welcome back Wells. Kip Wells returns to St. Louis. Kyle Loos returns to form. Plus, we'll have Tony La Russa's post-game thoughts. It's all coming up after the game. For now, we send it back to Dan and the good doctor, Rick Horton.
All right, thanks, Jim. And see, it's catching on. The good doctor, Rick Horton.
I've been called worse things.
Just a special night for you, recalling that 1985 game and your 8 innings of work against the Phillies.
Well, it's more special for me than it is for Kurt Kepshire, since he got knocked out in the first inning.
Those are the ones you forget.
Yeah, actually, those are the ones that you'll never forget. Those bad ones. Plenty of those.
Yeah. 1 ball, 1 strike here on Valentine. 4-1 St. Louis.
You remember him, but you learn from him. And again, you think of Ryan Franklin, Dan, and how good he was 2 years ago. And, you know, he really had some rough stretches last year in the Cardinal bullpen. I mean, he really did. And I think he learned from it, and it's just made him better this year. And he's bound and determined not to go back there.
DeRosa, and the way that they have used him this year, too. I think that plays into the success that he has had, the quick innings.
Yeah.
Play of the game is presented by Budweiser. Kyle Loos, the starter tonight. 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, and he strikes out 3, and the Cardinals are 1 out away.
He's in line for his 5th victory. And Franklin in line for save number 27.
Fans on their feet. 2 outs in the first pitch. A strike to Johnny Gomes. The Cardinals could wake up tomorrow and be 3 games in front of the Chicago Cubs. Here's the 0-1 pitch to Gomes. Line drive into center field and a base hit. What have you seen with Franklin that has taken him to this different level?
Just incredible location with his pitches, and he's got a variety of them. So he's got really what most closers don't have, and that's 4 or 5 pitches he can use. Most closers are maybe a 1-pitch, 2-pitch pitcher, but Franklin is a multi-pitch closer, and he's got a very good slider, a good split, and a good sinking fastball, and he throws them to corners left and right. Never throws the ball over the heart of the plate, or seldom does.
Sure. Lance Nix is on deck, and he single-handedly beat the Cardinals earlier this year in a couple of games, as he had a remarkable series here at this ballpark. It was early on this year.
Let's keep him over there in the on-deck circle.
2 outs. Runner goes from first, and the pitch is a strike. Adam Rosales has grounded out twice to third, and he's also struck out. 0 for 3 tonight. The 0-1 pitch. 0-2. The 0-2 pitch. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Rockies have added to their lead now 9-1 in the bottom of the 7th over Chicago. Marlins beat the Astros 8-6. One ball and 2 strikes, and the next from Franklin on its way. Grounded foul.
Dan, I love the atmosphere in a ballpark when the fans are expecting the last pitch of the game. They're expecting that strikeout. They've been here for a couple of hours watching their favorite team play, and they're looking for the moment when the curtain drops and the game is over.
40,212 here tonight for Game 1. Another sellout. Seats are available for tomorrow night in Game 2. Troy Tulowitzki, we get word, is hit for the cycle in the Rockies game against the Cubs tonight. The 1-2 pitch on its way from Ryan Franklin. Just got a piece. The thing that makes Franklin so good too is that you don't worry about the matchups, and now baseball has turned into, so much of the lefty-lefty stuff, and with Ryan Franklin you don't worry about that at all.
Because he has pitches that can go both directions. He has one that can go in on a right-hander, away from a right-hander. Sharp pitches, and for him it does not make any difference. Tough on both.
Here's a 1-2 pitch from Franklin. Almost a defensive swing as that ball was in on his hands. Did not look like a baseball swing there, did it?
I'm not even sure where that ball went. Maybe he's playing cricket.
Yeah. It's a good way to describe it.
Franklin was the bowler.
Now you're getting too tactical.
Easy to do with you, Dan.
Here's a 1-2. Bounced off of Molina and right back to Franklin. 2 balls and 2 strikes. 15 pitches in this inning. I wonder what goes through the minds of some of the folks that have followed the Reds for a number of years, and now they see Franklin as an all-star closer. He was with Cincinnati back in 06. Two balls, 2 strikes. The next from Ryan Franklin. Ground ball, left side. DeRosa charges, makes the play to first, and the Cardinals win it. The Cardinals beat the Cincinnati Reds, and they win it by the score of 4-1. As Kyle Loesch picks up the win, his 5th of the season. He's now 5-7. Franklin gets the save, and the Cardinals win another, and they're 12 games above the 500 mark.